This event started with a conversation between three friends of mine, Franco Villobra and Jerome Bocus, Scott Boswell, three of my best friends. We were talking about the oil spill and things that were happening, and we were actually having lunch with Stephen Baldwin in a New Orleans restaurant about 6, 7 days after the spill. And Jerome was asking, you know, tell us about what's happened. You know, what's going on. You know, what can we do? And for those of us who live in New Orleans, and this is kind of a recurring nightmare. You know, it was the second after the failure of the levees. It was the second natural disaster that's hit our great city, and it was a scary time. But you know, we started talking. Of course, we're with a chef, with Jerome Bocus, and we started talking about New Orleans and its importance. And you know, one of the few things that people don't realize is that the natural resources that are coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. Those natural resources are the second largest contributor to the U.S.'s Treasury after the I.R.S. So it's really important, and New Orleans is sort of at the womb of that. And as we started talking, you know, Jerome said, you know, what can we have some type of fundraiser? Can we do some things? And he is enlisted. He's brought here a group of some of the best chefs in the world. To come cook at Scott Boswell's with Scott Boswell, who we consider the best chef in New Orleans.
Well, we have a very exciting menu. We have 7 courses that we're doing tonight between Chef Boswell, Chef B.L.R.D, Chef Bocus, and myself. And we're starting out with 2 courses from Scott at Stella. One of them is a melange of fresh fruit. And we have a lot of stone fruit. And then the next one is a very, very clever dish. It's a caviar preparation with a mousseline of scrambled eggs over the traditional garnishes, which is shallots, chives, and capers, correct? And so it's a really clever. When you see it, I think you'll agree that it's a very clever presentation and something that also tastes as wonderful as it looks. We're going to follow that with a course by Jerome with a lobster over leeks, and it's a very traditional, classic preparation, which I love. I mean, to smell the sauce americaine that he made is just takes me back to my childhood, kind of, at least my childhood in the culinary world. And so he's doing the dish with lobster tail and of course black truffles and a julienne of leeks with the sauce americaine, extraordinary. Danielle's following that with a beautiful sea bream from the Gulf of Mexico with a puree of cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and some truffle as well. So we have two courses with the famous truffle. It's going to be crusted with the hazelnuts and truffle there. We're doing a lamb dish from Legion Fields Farm, which is a lammer outside of Pittsburgh, a very unique gentleman. And we're doing a persillade version of that, which is a very classic preparation for rack of lamb, where we're taking the bone off. So it's a lamb ribeye on persillade, with enveloped in a mousseline of the decal, which is a part of the rack, and slow roasted lamb neck, and then serving that with a tortelloni of V.I.R.D.S beans and sweet garlic with ratatouille, which is very exciting, and a niçoise olive sauce. And then we're back to Scott for the cheese course. It's a grilled cheese sandwich. So who doesn't like grilled cheese sandwich? I mean, raise your hand if you don't like grilled cheese sandwich, and nobody has their hand raised. And then this amazing chocolate dessert, which I'm very excited about because it's involved with liquid nitrogen, which is you know, the latest thing to do with food. So that's kind of the wrap up of the menu.
We were talking right after the oil spill about what happened to New Orleans, and we were discussing, you know, what happened in New Orleans was really a nightmare for those of us who live in New Orleans. It was a recurring of a man-made disaster that happened to us. And Jerome was concerned about it, and he asked what he could do to help. What Jerome did was he enlisted the Bocus d'Or Foundation, which is a group of chefs headed by Thomas Keller, Danielle B.L.R.D, and Jerome Bocus. And they've agreed to do a fundraiser here tonight they're cooking for the first time together in what the press has called the dinner of the decade. So it's real exciting.
My reaction is basically everything's been I've been overwhelmed. I mean, we saw some great food and great chefs together, and to see all the chefs next to each other working together for a great cause, this is really amazing.
I think it's a fantastic evening. I mean, we have been working very hard to prepare this evening today, but what's wonderful is this camaraderie among chefs, of course, with Thomas Keller, Jerome Bocus, myself, and also, I mean, having a dual purpose in a charity, it's always something wonderful where we can not only help locally, but as well, I think of the future talent in culinary world, which we want to support through the Bocuse d'Or USA Foundation. So it's very important, and also help New Orleans with the pelicans, which is the symbol of New Orleans, and their reserve, bird reserve, which needs support and help. And it's one thing among many other we need support, but we choose to be associated with that.
We are serving Louisiana seafood, so we're doing frog's legs from the coast. Danielle's doing some crab and shrimps, so we're really excited about that. We're serving fish. So we're starting to, the message that we want to send out is that Louisiana seafood is safe, and we want to be able to embrace that and be able to kind of support the fishermen here in Louisiana, make sure that other Louisianans know that the fish is safe and the food from the Gulf, as well as the nation. So it's a big deal for us today.
It was almost too good to be true, but you know, I've learned in the last few years, especially after Katrina, you know, dreams are what life is made of, and the more you dream, the more you can make come true. And you know, when we won the Super Bowl, I said, you know, we can do anything now. And I said, you know, this year can't get any better. And here we are standing in the kitchen tonight with chefs Thomas Keller, Jerome Bocus, and Danielle B.L.R.D. And I tell you what, it doesn't get much better than that.
We saw the need. So much of the habitat is being destroyed by this oil, and some of these marshlands, some of these Barrier Islands where these pelicans that had just come off the endangered list are starting to wash away. So what we're going to do is our first project is going to be building back an island out in Barrier Bay next to Cat Island, which was inundated with oil, and where you saw a large amount of those pelicans being taken from their babies to be cleaned from oil. So we're going to build a Barrier Island out there, an artificial island, upraised out of the water, so these birds that have survived the oil, that keep going back to this island that still has oil on it, will have a new nesting ground to start. And then we'll look at armoring some of the berms that are out there and planting trees and grass, and continue to improve the habitat for the wildlife that have been affected so greatly by this oil spill. So it's a group that we felt we needed to do something and move quickly, because a lot of these areas where the birds are nesting is still covered with oil. There's really no way to clean the oil off of that marsh. And so they keep returning to these areas that are so heavily coated with the oil. So this will give them a new island, a new home, somewhere to start that's not covered with oil, and a lot of great people pulling together tonight to make this happen.
What's your reaction to what you've seen here tonight?
Oh, this is great. I mean, to see these chefs, people from all over Houston, all over, coming together to support such a cause. You know, we all saw the images of those pelicans being covered with oil. And so to be able to come together and raise money, not getting the governments involved, not getting tied up in the red tape, to move quickly to give something back and build a new home for a nesting ground for these pelicans is huge. And you see the amount of people here tonight and the overwhelming support for this new organization. And we're just tickled pink that this event is going to put us over the top to get started.
New Orleans seafood is back. You know, the seafood is here. It's safe. You know, and you know, the wildlife, you know, the nature was very resilient, like us in New Orleans.